In this video we will see how we can get the Spark configuration. In Spark, by Spark you can get the current active Spark context and its configuration settings by accessing spark.sparkcontext.getConfig.getAll. Here Spark is an object of Spark session and getAll returns array of string, string. Let's see this in Databricks notebook, how we can get this Spark configurations. Right now I'm in the Databricks portal, so you could see my cluster here. This is my cluster, and I've taken a basic cluster here. So if you see here, like I've used the runtime version as 7.3 LTS, Apache Spark, and if you see my cluster name, this is my cluster name, and so this is my basic information about the cluster. And if you want to get this information when you run the when you want to get this information in runtime, how we can get these values in the runtime. For example, I have a cluster ID, I have a cluster name, I have this runtime version, all those things I have here, right? And I have this node type. So if I want to get this at the runtime, when you run a job, when you want to get this information, how we can achieve that? So that is what we're going to see today. So so basically, if you want to get the Spark configurations, you have this command at spark.sparkcontext.getConfig.getAll. So this will give you all the configuration of the Spark, and so you don't have to create this Spark context manually. So when you automatically create a cluster, it automatically creates this Spark context for you. But in case if you don't have this Spark context, you can create this Spark context using this. If you don't have this Spark context, you can create this Spark context using this commands. For example, from PySpark.sql import Spark session, Spark equal to Spark session dot build dot some Spark name, and get or create. When you have this, when you run this command, you will have the Spark configuration ready, and you will get all the configuration help of this command. So for example, I want to run this command. So by default I have the Spark configuration, so I'm going to run this command, configuration equal to spark.sparkcontext.getConfig.getAll, and I'm going to iterate through this configuration to list down all the configuration whatever I'm I'm going to iterate through this configurations and to find out all the configurations available in my Spark. So if I run this one, you will find all the configuration. For example, the file use fetch class equal to false. You will have the configuration name and the value also for the configurations. If you go down further, if you want to see something which you know, for example, the cluster ID, cluster name, all those things you can find here. So whichever configuration you want, you can find it from this output. And if you want to specifically know the configuration, and if you want to find the specific values, directly you can run that command and you can get that. Let's quickly show you that as well. So if you see here, my cloud provider is here, then my cluster ID also should be there somewhere here, and you could set a lot of configurations in this output. And for example, if you want to know the driver host, if you want to run the driver host, then you can run this command. You can write and print off spark.sparkcontext.getConfig.get the configuration name, that will give you the host name. Similarly, if you want to find the Databricks workspace URL, then spark.sparkcontext.getConfig.getoff the configuration name, spark.databricks workspace URL. When you run this, you will get this Databricks URL here. Similarly, if you want to find a cluster ID, if you run this, you will find a cluster ID. This is my cluster ID. Similarly, if you want to find my cluster name, if you run this, you will find anything to cloud, right? So you saw that cluster name before. So similarly, if you want to find the region, which region it is running, you can run this command. This will show you which region the particular the cluster is running. So right now it is in Ireland region, that's why you go US to one. Similarly, if you want to run the cloud provider, so right now it is running in AWS cloud provider, so that's the reason you see AWS. Similarly, if you want to run the max result size, max 4G. So this is in this way you can easily find the Spark configurations, and if you want to identify any values at runtime, you can run this command and get that value. If you want to find the config value at runtime, you can run this command and then get the values, and you can proceed with your task. And if you don't have the Spark configuration, you can just create the configuration with the help of this command, and you can run the Spark configurations. For example, if I have a Spark one here, and if I run this one, you will find the same output here. Yeah, so in this way also you can create a Spark. If Spark config is not available, you can create a Spark config like this, and you can get the configuration here. That's pretty much for this video, and thanks for watching.